Hi, everybody. Bryan Norcross here with an update on the hurricane season here on this first day of June 2025. Of course, the first day officially of the Atlantic hurricane season, and great news. There is nothing going on. Now, if you've been watching social media, you've probably seen people take images of the GFS model, which has been trying to spin up something in the Caribbean and move it north. Blah, blah, blah. Well, the GFS model is known to have that bias. None of the other computer projections say that, including the most modern AI models. So we're not concerned about that at this point. Of course, we always keep an eye on it, but nothing for this week and probably for beyond that. So looking good at this point in the hurricane season. All right, let's take a look at it across the Atlantic. Look how clear it is out in here across the Caribbean, in the Gulf of Mexico. All clean and green, as they say, because there's a lot of dry air and high pressure out there. Big high pressure system has been dominant over the Atlantic, and the flow around that, like this, kind of noses into the Gulf. It's what's kept it exceptionally dry in South Florida, for example. Air from April through May, for the most part, except for the big deluge on Mother's Day weekend, but otherwise high pressure has been dominating. Of course, high pressure is the opposite of tropical systems. They're low pressure, so this is one of the things keeping things under control. Beyond that, the flow around that is bringing dust across the Atlantic. Look at this big plume pushing into the Caribbean right now. And as we go through the next week, the dust just keeps on coming, which is what we expect this time of year, although these have been really good, healthy surges of dust. You're going to see it in Florida. Skies get kind of milky. Also along the Gulf Coast, there'll be some milky days coming up, but that's dusty, dry air in the atmosphere, and that will suppress any kind of thunderstorm activity and also any kind of tropical activity. So the dust is our friend to some degree. Also, out in the Atlantic this year, the water is quite cool out here. Now, this is dramatically cooler than it has been the last 2 years, but plenty warm in the Caribbean. So that's where we're going to look, as we normally do this time of year, if anything is going to develop, but there's nothing, as I said, in the works. Also, beyond the dust and the high pressure, we have these screaming upper level winds across the Gulf, across the Caribbean, and on across the Atlantic. So if anything did try and develop, it get ripped apart right away. So that's just a totally hostile wind condition. As we go forward in time, watch it, the band of wind kind of move, and it's there kind of permanently as we look here now. This is next Sunday, so a week from today. You notice the winds still come kind of strong across the Gulf, but not quite as strong, but still hostile for tropical development is the thinking of all the computer models, along with the other issues going on. But as those winds do tend to lighten up, this is when the GFS wants to spin something up. So a week to 2 weeks from now is the time period. But as of right now, nobody agrees with the GFS, so we're not at all concerned. All right, now, in the Pacific, there is another area that might develop here. 40% chance of at least a tropical depression in this area, and a decent chance we're going to get Tropical Storm Barbara out of it. Could be a pretty healthy storm offshore of Mexico. What's the difference? Look at the water out there in the 90s, low 90s. It's quite often very warm in that pocket offshore of Mexico, and this is why the Mexican or the Pacific, Eastern Pacific hurricane season starts on the 15th of May and not the 1st of June, because generally conditions are more conducive out there. And right now, look at the upper level winds there. See, there's this pocket in here of very light winds. So that's where potentially Barbara will develop sometime later on this week. So that's where we're looking right now. As far as the El Nino, La Nina, well, we're in this neutral condition, which just means we don't expect influence from that, either enhancement or suppression of hurricanes. That's where we look to see how the water temperature is, and you see a combination of blues and yellows, which means neutral. And in neutral years, with the El Nino, La Nina, we sometimes have a lot of storms in the Atlantic and sometimes have fewer. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if it edges toward La Nina, which tends to encourage more storms, but certainly nothing there right now. So there's where we stand in terms of the forecast. According to NOAA, 13 to 19, same as CSU. 17, that's above average, which would be 14. Last year, remember, we ended up with 18 named storms, but 11 of them were hurricanes. So it's the hurricanes that really make a difference. And we are indeed forecasting, everybody's forecasting above normal hurricane activity. But if I had to put odds on it, I would say later in the hurricane season. Now, another thing I wanted to mention, we have lots of coverage of hurricane season on Fox Weather coming up, and we are also doing a special tomorrow night, so Monday, June 2nd at 9 p.m. I'm going to be taking your questions. We're calling that one Hurricane HQ and A. Clever, right? Hurricane HQ coverage with Q&A. I'll be there live, and we're going to tell you how you can send in questions, and we'll answer everything we can think of about hurricanes. But today, Sunday afternoon, Ian Oliver is going to be honchoing there the Hurricane HQI on the season coverage, and I'll be there interviewing Dr. Mike Brennan from the National Hurricane Center. And, of course, we'll have full coverage all week of the first week of hurricane season 2025. That'll be on Fox Weather, and we'll keep you up to date right here as well. So, all right, stay with us. It's hurricane season. For now, everything is looking good.